Just to be clear, you do think microorganisms pose a threat?
Oh, in the most dire terms.
Bacteria?
No.
You like saying no?
Yes.
Not bacteria, not viruses, so...
Fungus. Yes, that's the usual response. Fungi seem harmless enough. Many species know otherwise, because there are some fungi who seek not to kill, but to control.
You ever kill one?
Yeah.
Is it hard? Knowing they were people once?
HBO's The Last of Us is a post-apocalyptic story with an unusual villain, a fungal infection that turns people into zombies. Now, it might seem like a crazy premise, but the guys who designed the video game that the show is based on, they don't think it's so far-fetched.
We're feeding each other books and watching movies together and saying, like, have you seen this? What have you check this out. And one of those things was the Planet Earth BBC documentaries narrated by David Attenborough.
These bullet ants are showing some worrying symptoms. Spores from a parasitic fungus called cordyceps have infiltrated their bodies and their minds. Like something out of science fiction, the fruiting body of the cordyceps erupts from the ant's head.
So let's take on this question. Could a fungal pandemic actually sweep the planet, turning humanity into zombies?
I would say that that the show is very creative. In science, we never say that something is impossible, except some violation of laws of physics.
So a good starting point is to look at the actual fungus from the show. Cordyceps are a pretty broad group. There are hundreds of types of them, many used in Chinese medicine. But it's Ophiocordyceps unilateralis that gets all the attention because of what it can do to ants.
Just the right amount of light, just the right amount of humidity for the parasite growing inside. It forces her to clamp down in a death bite, and Cordyceps reveals its gruesome nature.
This is the zombie fungus. It controls an ant's mind and body, compelling it to leave the safety of its nest in order to seek out the exact environmental conditions that the fungus needs to grow and to spread. Once there, it's mission complete. The fungus erupts from the poor zombified ant, infecting other ants. But what happens when cordyceps like this find humans?
We're exposed to cordyceps all the time, right? So cordyceps completes its life cycle through a free-floating stage. So humans inhale cordyceps all the time. We probably don't in Canada too much, but there are fungi that do similar things. It's a common thing. You actually Google it online. You'll find people who find daddy long legs in their attics and in their basement, kind of encased in a white mold, but kind of just zombified. That's kind of a similar fungus that does completes similar life cycle. And those people who live in that house have been exposed to it and they've inhaled it and they're fine.
According to the experts that we spoke to, the secret to our resilience to something like Ophiocordyceps unilateralis is likely twofold. So one, our immune system is just way bigger and way better. Comparing ours to an ant's is sort of like comparing the Great Wall of China to a picket fence.
We tend to have advanced immune systems, but a really important thing is that we're very hot relative to what they can tolerate. Our temperatures, 37 degrees, are much hotter than many fungal many fungal species can tolerate. So that gives us a tremendous amount of protection.
Now, that's not to say we're invincible, far from it. If you've ever had athlete's foot or a yeast infection, those are both fungal infections, and they can get pretty serious if you don't treat them. Plus, there are those relatively rare circumstances where a fungal infection can become deadly serious.
In spring of 2018, the University of Arizona student suddenly started losing weight. He was extremely tired, struggling even to walk to the bathroom. It took 6 weeks to get a diagnosis of fungal infection called valley fever.
Sounds like you were extremely close to death.
Yeah, they were telling my mom to prepare for that.
He's still not better, spending 5 years in and out of the hospital. At his worst, he was on life support for 2 weeks.
The CDC says there are thousands of cases of valley fever in the United States every year, mostly in southwestern states like Arizona and California. But that could change because valley fever is spreading.
Well, a study that we did published like in November is actually found that we are seeing pockets of it reaching the Canadian border. And it's because it's not the heat that they need, it's the droughts that they need. And you know, the American West, even the northern part, is now starting to see droughts. And so is Western Canada. And so I would not be surprised if in the next few years, in a decade or so, we're actually seeing it in Canada.
And forget just Canada. Experts say fungi, broadly, already kill 1.5 million people every year.
Fungi kill more people than malaria in Africa. Fungi kill more people than tuberculosis in Latin America, but we refer to them as a rare disease. The fact is, they are the most common rare disease that you will ever see, and we ignore them at our peril.
Okay, so we know fungal infections can spread in humans on a large scale in the right conditions, but let's get back to the original question. Could zombie fungus ever become a thing? I mean, the show, The Last of Us, says these are mutated cordyceps, after all. So how likely are cordyceps to mutate? Well, remember how we said they don't do too well in the extreme heat of the body?
True, fungi cannot survive if its host's internal temperature is over 94 degrees. And currently, there are no reasons for fungi to evolve to be able to withstand higher temperatures. But what if that were to change? What if, for instance, the world were to get slightly warmer?
Yeah, we know that in real life, the world is getting warmer because of climate change.
Imagine an organism out there who is the temperature maximum of growth is 35 degrees. And imagine after many years of really hot summers that it now acquires the capacity for growing at 37, 38 degrees. Well, you lost your temperature defense.
So just another way that climate change could doom us all. And if it weren't enough that fungi are spreading and could evolve, some fungal infections are just really hard to treat in humans. Certain kinds of fungi are becoming drug resistant, and also on a cellular level, we weirdly have a lot in common with fungi. So a medication that kills fungal cells is often really dangerous for us too.
It's very easy to make an antifungal. It's just very hard to make an antifungal that's not also an anti-human.
So could a fungal pandemic turn us all into zombies? No. Or maybe not yet.
When I went to medical school in the beginning, retroviruses were not thought to be pathogens of humans. And HIV gave us a pandemic. And when I was in medical school, coronaviruses were supposed to give you a cold, a minor cold that was transient. Now we have had SARS, MERS, and the great pandemic of 2019.
Just because a fungal pandemic hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. It's happened to other species. Bats, frogs, even bananas have had devastating fungal infections. And humans, it could be coming. After all, how many of us predicted the pandemic we've all been struggling through? And with our warming planet and fungi's ability to adapt with startling precision, maybe those TV zombies are worth paying attention to.